I was moving my trailer the other day with my diesel pickup and it started leaking power steering fluid. So when I went to inspect it and see where it was leaking from, coming out right here where the pitman arm connects to the power steering gearbox. So I ordered a seal kit for this steering gearbox where the pitman arm connects. So I'm going to start taking this off. I'm using a 1 5/16 inch socket to get that nut off, and I got a pitman arm puller that I'm using so that I can get that arm off of there. If you're not familiar with the pitman arm puller, basically this is how it works: is it slips over the top of the pitman arm. See if I can get a better angle like that. Slips over the top of the pitman arm, and then you run this bolt up and it'll pull that arm down. Right there, it'll pull that down when you're running that bolt up. So let me do that real quick and get this pitman arm off the truck. If you like having a vehicle that does not leak power steering fluid, hit the like button. So it comes off pretty easy with that puller, but without it, you're going to have a hard time getting that off. You have to try to find something to wedge up in there and then just keep beating it until you can get that off. That puller works really handy. You can pick them up almost anywhere. AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Harbor Freight, online, anywhere you can get automotive tools. But I really like it. It works pretty well. So now I gotta try to see if I can get the old seals out of there. And once I get the old seals out, we'll put the new ones in and put this all back together. Hopefully it'll be good. I ended up pulling the gearbox out of the truck and got it into the shop here. So I ended up taking off this pinion gear. It's got the 4 bolts that hold it in. 4 bolts were a 1/2 inch on this truck. In order to take this out, you got these 3 bolts right here that hold it in to the truck, and those 3 bolts you have to have an 18mm socket to get the bolts out. They go through the frame of the truck, and then you've got 2 pieces of tubing that connect here on the other side. This is actually going to be the top when it's in the truck, and one of these is 18mm and I believe the other is a 3/4 in order to get those off on this 2003 Dodge 2500. Now I've got the new seals in here. It was pretty easy to pop the old ones out. I just used a pry bar, popped them out, and then underneath this top one right here is where the lock ring goes. This one here is to keep dust and debris out from getting into the seal that's inside, and the lock ring holds in the seal that's inside there. So what I'm going to do now, you can see it's a little greasy. I put a little bit of dielectric grease on there. I'm going to put a little bit more dielectric grease around the inside of that, so that when I put this pitman gear back in there, it should slide right through without tearing up the seal, hopefully. So I got the new seals in there, and I got the pitman arm gear put back in. I got the 4 bolts in there and tightened up. So now I'm going to put this back in the truck, and I'll have to get back with you after I get it in the truck, because I don't really have a good way to record doing that. So I got it back in. It's doing pretty good. I've driven it for a couple days now. Sorry I didn't record installing it, but a couple things to note when doing this. Some of the tools that you're going to need. This is a 33mm, but a 1 5/16 inch socket will work. You got to disconnect the steering arm right up there. This bolt right here to disconnect it is a 10mm, and then I had to get an 18mm wrench to disconnect the fuel line, and the other one I ended up using some channel locks because I didn't have the right size wrench, but I think it's 13/16 or somewhere around there. And then on the other side of the frame, this is bolted through the frame. Got 3 bolts in here that are 18mm. Yep, that one right there, and then there's two, one up higher and one down lower, that are behind this plastic. I just pulled the plastic back and I was able to get to them. Yeah, you can see all three right there. So the truck's doing pretty good now. It's not leaking power steering fluid anymore. They got those seals replaced. But I did notice the Jeep seems like it has the same issue, because it's been sitting here a few days and you got this puddle that is right underneath the power steering gearbox. So I'm looking up at it right here. The pitman arm is wet, so it looks like it is coming out the same spot. So I've got the same kit ordered for this, and whenever we get it in, then we'll be doing the same job on the Jeep. So maybe at that time I'll be able to record more of the process and show it to you guys, because we've got better access. Right here, there's the 4 bolts on top that I had to take out. It looks like we can leave this one in place and do the same job. I'll just have to take this anti-sway bar off, take those 4 bolts out, take the pitman arm off, and then we'll be able to push the pitman shaft up out of there and replace the seals on this one. So I just want to take this moment to tell you that if you're interested in anything like this hat that I'm wearing or some comfortable t-shirts, Own Boss Supply Company is an apparel company that gives away trucks, trailers, and heavy-duty equipment, something similar to skid steers, mini excavators. It depends on what giveaway they have going at the time. If that sounds like something you might be interested in, you can use the discount code below in the description and get 10% off if you go to ownbosssupplyco.com and enter the code that I've got in the description. Then you can get 10% off of your order.